Hey, take 44. Well, not quite that many, but we're getting there. Um, this is the window on the first video of a series that we're going to be doing on the renovation of my 1992 Toyota Winnebago Warrior motorhome. This is the cause of the current damage in which I'm in the middle of repairing, in which I'm replacing the entire sleeper floor, walls, etc. So that's the above cab sleeper. And this is the culprit. This is the front window. And a lot of people claim that they suffer leaks between the frame and the body. Well, that wasn't the case for me. And just in case that seems to be what's going on for you, it may not be. You may have multiple leaks. Because what ended up happening for me is because these windows are mounted at an angle, they tend to collect dirt on the front glass. And then what happens is that dirt, is when it gets wet and it rains, will migrate underneath the seal between the glass and the rubber. And when it gets down to the bottom of the channel and it collects in the bottom of the seal, at the bottom of the glass, it will create a pathway for the glass or for the water to be able to get past the glass and the seal. So when that happens, there's nothing that you can do. Caulking this edge here doesn't really help. It doesn't stay, and it's just not a permanent repair. So every one of these windows right here, they have a seam somewhere, usually on the end. And what we end up doing is, to repair this, is there's a metal strap right here. Okay, and with that metal strap, there are 4 rivets. And what you want to do is, I prefer to drill out all 4, and then you take and this will tap down here a little ways, and then you just tap it, move it over, and so that way you don't have to spread this out that far. You only have to spread it apart yay far. And then when you do that, the glass and the rubber all comes out in one piece. From there, you clean the glass up really, really well, along with the rubber seal. The rubber seal will have all kinds of dirt compacted in it, and you have to get in there with a little toothbrush or whatever it is, and just keep going and get it. So when you feel inside of it, it's smooth. You can't feel any dirt anymore. And then when you get done with that, you go ahead and, let me grab the caulking gun here, and I'll show you a sample. What we have here, see this little tiny, practically a thread of sealant? That's all the more you want to put in there. That's all it takes. Anything more than that, even that little bit, when you put the glass and the seal together, it's going to squeeze out and make a big mess you're going to have to clean up. The stuff that I used in this particular case is black White Lightning, ultra all-purpose caulking. You want to use something that's flexible, like this particular stuff here is. And you always want to use a flexible sealant anytime you're doing any motorhome repairs, because if it's not flexible, it's going to separate, it's going to leak. So put a bead of the sealer all the way around the glass, or all the way on the inside of the seal. Put it on the glass, then put a bead all the way around the inside of the frame where the seal in the glass goes, and then you put it in there and you clamp it back together here. And what I did was, in my case, I used, one of these bar clamps that I got over at Harbor Freight, and I squeezed it back together. I tapped this back over, got the holes aligned, and put in 4 pop rivets. And I use stainless steel. They're a little bit harder than what aluminum is. They won't loosen up. and then put a little bit of caulking in here, in between, before you do that. Squirt some in. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit messy, but you know that there's not going to be any leak in your joint, in the seam. So that's really pretty much all there is to sealing this up. It will be a little bit difficult. There's a lot of goo that's going to ooze out, and but it's not a bad repair to do. It's just the cleanup is a little bit messy, but it's well worth it while the window is out. Because if you seal this thing all up, you put it all back in, then you do a repair for any of the water damage that you had, and then it leaks between the window and the frame and the seal, you're right back to where you were. And even though you may not have the amount of damage, in my particular case, this thing was inside of a garage for 10 months. And even after 10 months, when I took the floor out and started peeling it all apart, there was literally a quarter of an inch of water still inside the skin, between the floor and the skin, and all the wood was completely soaked, completely delaminated, and it really did not smell good. So every bit of that had to be removed. And the point is, even after 10 months, the water did not find its way out. It did not evaporate, and it just stayed there and rotted and rotted and rotted. So make sure that you got a good seal between the glass and the frame and the body. This is not the only place that it will leak. You want to make sure that you've got this taken care of, because it will leak, it will cause damage, and just do it right the first time. You know, I have an old saying, when all else fails, do it right. So that's enough for this episode of Speed Maverick Garage. I wish I had remembered to turn on the camera and push record when I was doing all this. I would have had a little bit more I could have showed you. But, look, if you've got the skills to be doing this stuff, you can hang with this. You can do it. It's really not that hard. Just be careful, take your time, and think about what you're doing. Anyway, until next time, look forward to the next video in the series of a lot of the deconstruction that we're doing before we end up putting things back together. So I'll see you then.